Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. The Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio. Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 131, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. My name is Zachy Hassan, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime, Brian Hall.
Hey, what's going on, Zachy? Good morning.
And I say partner in crime literally because we're going to be robbing a bank later this afternoon.
Yeah. It's been months of planning. We're very excited.
Yeah, probably shouldn't podcast, pre-announce the podcast. That seems like, the type of thing that gets you in trouble.
Yeah.
It's like, how did you find us, copper?
Problems, hashtag.
How'd you find us, copper? Well, I subscribed to the Movie Film Podcast, as it happens, and you announced you were going to do it. So,
And then on the way to the station, it's like, no, you really thought that Blade Runner was...
We mention on the show, all right, so I've got my Richard Nixon mask.
Yeah.
Anywho, what's happening, Brian? What's new?
Well, it's funny. This time of year, I think I've said in the last couple episodes, I haven't seen a ton of movies in between the big movie that we've watched, but I have watched a little more television, and I started this last episode, and I finished American Vandal, which was the
Yes, you had mentioned that.
8-part. Yeah, it's like an 8-part series on Netflix, and it's a parody of the true crime documentaries like The Jinx, Making a Murderer, Serial, but the whole gag is basically it's not a murder. It's about at a high school, 27 penises have been spray painted onto cars in the faculty lot. And it's like, who drew the dicks? That's like sort of the gag of the first episode, like just saying, but who drew the dicks? Like with a straight face for 30 minutes. And I was wondering with the first episode if that joke would wear itself out. But surprisingly, 8 episodes, they're 30 minutes each, so about 4 hours total. I really enjoyed this series quite a bit. I don't know if it requires you to be a fan of those true crime documentaries, because for me, half of the enjoyment was how much it felt like those mysteries, the way that it was laid out, and I don't know, it was just a very familiar sort of narrative cadence. But I think what it did really well on top of that was I was worried that they were just going to lean into the silly juvenile humor of it all, but they did this. They perfectly balanced the comedy where they leaned into it a little bit, but they'd also step back and make sure that these characters felt like real people and didn't just keep saying dick every 30 seconds. And these actually became like real interesting characters. And the main guy, his name was Dylan. Man, he was played by Jimmy Tatro. Oh man, he was really good. He made a really compelling sort of doofus who you, by the end of the series, sort of get to know and kind of sympathize with. And I was just really impressed with the cast of characters. I thought it was actually a solid mystery that had me guessing literally all the way up to the very end. And then it actually had a pretty, I thought, thoughtful ending. So I was very surprised that this thing stuck the landing. I mean, if you were to make something like this, you kind of imagine it'd be like, oh, it would have been better if they had this, that, whatever. I thought they really thought this one out, and this was a really great version of what this thing, what they intended it to be. So it's a lot of fun, and it's 30-minute episodes, which most of the shows I watch are an hour. So yeah, it was kind of nice at the end of the day to just have something really quick and easy to just sort of like shut my brain off and giggle a little bit, and also get engaged in, because I was like, oh, I thought it was that guy. Well, who's this? I thought it was her. Now it's not, So
well, there we go. I will absolutely be checking that out based on your recommendation.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
And therefore, you will be to blame if I don't like it. It'll be all on you. I've been to the movies. I saw American Made.
Yeah, American Vandal, American Made.
American Assassin earlier this month.
Yeah.
It's kind of an American tragedy playing out right now in the White House. So it's the full spectrum. American Made, starring Tom Cruise in a quote-unquote based on true events movie that is, in essence, a redo of sort of the Blow template.
Mm-hmm.
and it was quite good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I had, as soon as I walked out of it, I pinged you. I said, "Hey, you should check it out. This is a movie that Brian Hall will enjoy."
Yeah, I like Blow a lot. I like those sort of
And you like the movie too.
Yeah, exactly. How do you think I'm up this early? But yeah, no, I like those sort of rise and fall movies. And I don't know why, but I sort of enjoy these sort of true drug crime movies.
Yeah.
Like the Narcos and all those sorts of things.
And this is very much in that, because Narcos is a sort of fictionalized version of the Medellin cartel. And this is, of course, about that as well, because the character that Tom Cruise plays, Barry Seal, who is a real guy who, let me assure you, looked nothing like Tom Cruise. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think they are so distinct in a physical capacity that it's a little unfair, in my opinion. I feel like Tom Cruise should play me.
Right,
Because
you may as well.
Barry Seal looks as much like Tom Cruise as I do,
Yeah.
But he was present, per the film anyway, when sort of the Medellin cartel was first rising, and he served as a CIA operative, and then he was also making drug deliveries for the cartel, and it's like a whole very complicated thing. The film, I mean, they make no bones about it. It's directed by Doug Liman. It is just straight up fictionalized based on what actually happened. But as a critique of sort of American geopolitical policy during the 70s and 80s and American excess and whatnot, I think it's pretty engaging. I would highly recommend it. It did okay, and it's not a huge breakout hit, which isn't super surprising. But it occurred to me that this is the kind of movie that 20 years ago would have been a smash hit on the back of Tom Cruise.
Right.
Right. When you think about it, because nowadays you have like the Tom Cruise blockbusters, and then you have the one for him movies, right? And it didn't used to be that way, because any movie with Tom Cruise in it was a hit.
Right.
So you could see this thing coming out in 97, 98, it would have been a huge hit. That's not the movie landscape anymore, because this is sort of what he does in between Mission Impossible movies. But, we critiqued The Mummy for being kind of just, it wasn't playing to his strengths. He seemed too old to be doing it, and there were a host of other problems. But for the first time, it was like Tom Cruise is part of the problem as well. And I look at movies like American Made, and I'm like, this is the type of thing he should be doing, because he's really good in it. He's terrific.
Yeah, it looks really good. And Doug Liman, he's fairly solid.
Yeah, I mean, on the whole.
I can't even think of the real name now. Edge of Tomorrow. I was going to say Live, Die, Repeat.
I know, isn't that funny?
That was the last time they were together, right?
That's correct.
Tom Cruise. Yeah, and that was really good.
And that was a good pairing between them. I think they've got a good rapport. I mean, it feels like Tom Cruise has found certain directors who he just has a good thing going with, because obviously Christopher McQuarrie, he's teaming with him for the third time now as director. So do check that out, Brian, if you get a chance.
Yeah, it's nice to know that there is a solid movie out there waiting for me, right? I mean, because there's a lot, like the summer movies, I enjoy the summer movies, but they can start to blur together a little bit in terms of what they're setting out to do. And it's just kind of cool to know there's this little pocket, well-told story out there that I'm like, oh, I got that waiting for me on a free night.
Well,
so,
and I should
checking that out.
I should point out that I watched American Made using for the first time my MoviePass card.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I wish I lived by a theater that did that.
Oh, so none of your local theaters accept it?
Well, it's AMC, right? AMC.
It's AMC.
I don't have one near me.
It's AMC and Century. It just kind of depends on who's around you that takes it. It's taken pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, I have an ArcLight walking distance from my place.
I see.
I don't think does it.
Oh man, yeah. So for those of you who don't know, this is like $9.95 a month that you pay, and you get a membership card, which is basically like a MasterCard, and you can use this to watch one movie a day.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable
it's
deal.
It's basically, like, if you're like us and you watch as many movies as we do, it's basically you're watching movies for free.
Yeah.
You walk up, you buy your ticket, and there it is. And once a day. You can do that. So my debut purchase was American Made, and I was like, I mean, I couldn't believe it. You know?
Honestly, I mean, I saw Blade Runner Thursday night.
Yes.
And yesterday evening, I worked, and then it was Friday evening, and I really didn't have anything going on, and I thought about walking over to American Made, because having a theater walking distance, you also think like, well, I could turn on my TV, or I could just walk into a theater.
Right.
And if I'd had that card, I almost guarantee you I would have seen it last night.
I almost feel like you should just get the membership, because even if you use it once a month, you're still coming out ahead.
Yeah, that's true.
You know? Actually, while we're talking about new avenues of content, I purchased a Roku a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, you'd mentioned that.
And
on the show.
Did I mention it on the show?
No, I was saying you mentioned that, but I realized not on the show. You like texted me about it or something.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this thing. So I got this mainly because I wanted to be able to watch Star Trek Discovery as it is airing, or as it's available, since it's not airing. But oh my God, this thing is amazing. I mean, it arrived on a Friday afternoon. I set up, and it's like the size of my ring finger. This thing. That's how big it is.
Wait, what were you using previously to stream?
My Blu-ray player, but it doesn't have the CBS app.
Oh, okay.
Right, because whatever app, you're limited to whatever apps are on the Blu-ray player, and I sound like Mr. First Worlder here as I'm talking about this.
Yeah.
You have Hulu and Amazon and Netflix and Vudu and YouTube, but what if you want more, Brian? What if you want more?
That's funny.
So the Roku comes with the CBS app and NBC and ABC and CBS and all the other stuff and HBO, etc. And so if you have access to those services, you are sitting pretty. So this thing arrives Friday afternoon. I plug it in, and I did not leave the couch for the next 5 days.
It's like when The Simpsons got cable.
Yeah, that was. I mean, by when I got up, I looked like Forrest Gump after he jogged across the country. My kids are like putting their hand in front of my face. Right. This Roku is my sixth child now.
Right. I love you, Roku.
I love it like one of my own. But it's friggin' amazing, this thing. So
that's great.
Yeah, and it's actually very funny because you have the ability through this thing to watch live TV, which I mean, if you listen to the show, I cut cable a long time ago, and so my kids are at this point now where they've grown up not knowing what live TV is.
Wow, that is something to think about.
Isn't that crazy? So we're watching some live TV, and a commercial starts, and my 8-year-old's like, "Can you skip past it?" I'm like, "No, you can't." He's like, "Why can't you do it?" And he's like getting all twitchy and weird,
Right.
And I'm like, "You just can't do it. It's live." It's like, what does that mean? Like he's like, he doesn't understand the concept of over-the-air TV.
Wow, so flipping channels isn't something that he understands.
No, he understands, I want to watch this, and now it's here. Which really, in my mind, makes me realize I've raised really a gaggle of entitled little douchebags.
See, that's funny. Possibly. But I was going to say there's something kind of nice about that, because when you're flipping, it's like grazing.
Yes.
With food, right? Where you're just sort of, you could go forever because you don't have a destination, and then you end up wasting a ton of time and accomplishing nothing.
Yes.
But when you have a destination and you're like, I'm going to watch this, and you watch this and it's over, that seems a little more healthy.
I mean, in theory.
In theory.
So I guess
communism works. In theory.
But Rocky Balboa proved it doesn't.
Right.
So the Roku is pretty fantastic. I am. They have an app. Okay, so it's a bunch of apps. They have this app, the Hasbro Studios app. Okay.
Wow.
And this thing, okay, lets you watch every single episode of G.I. Joe and Transformers ever made.
I can't believe they have
For free
rights to that.
Well, it's Hasbro, right? It's their stuff.
So they own it? I mean, I thought some studio would own it or something.
No, yeah, it's there. I mean, because at least the 80s cartoons, the production studio was Sunbow Productions, which was actually created. That was Hasbro's animation division.
Oh, okay.
So
Wow.
they paired up. They teamed with Marvel Productions to make those cartoons, but they're owned by Hasbro. So it's free. You have to watch every episode. I had just tears streaming down my face. Now, bear in mind, I own the complete series sets on DVD.
Right.
Not only do I own, they are sitting in a shelf directly beneath my Roku.
Right.
So really, I was crying tears of joy at the not having to walk like 3 feet and put a DVD into my player.
Well, similarly, last night on TNT, they're showing a Star Wars marathon.
Okay.
And it was on The Phantom Menace. And I was like, And I was skipping ahead, and I was like, oh, awesome. A New Hope starts at 4 a.m. And I was thinking, Brian, you could get up and get the Blu-ray in HD without commercials and
That's
watch
really
it right
funny.
now. But I don't know, something. And I wasn't even going to watch it at 4 a.m., but I got more excited at the idea of that.
I mean, I've said it before. We are becoming the Wall-E people.
Yeah, right.
It's already happening. It's too late to stop it.
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, we're basically the only thing that has us moving right now is the need for food and certain things not being available on streaming. That's basically it.
Well, those guys in Wall-E, they were very cheerful.
They were. Hey, if I can be as happy as Jeff Garlin, that ain't nothing, right? Another movie that's out right now is Mark Felt, the man who brought down the White House, which this is like 3 episodes in a row that we're talking about it. But the reason,
I'm just realizing that.
the reason I bring it up now is that I had an opportunity to talk to the movie's writer and director, Peter Landesman, who also did Concussion last year.
Which I didn't see. Did you see that?
I did see it.
Yeah. Good?
It's no, I'm sounding like Jay Leno. No, it's good. It's like a TNT movie, I would say.
Okay, yeah. I thought the material was interesting. So
It's interesting material. It's a good performance by like indignant Oscar contender Will Smith.
Right.
Even though he wasn't nominated for an Oscar, I think, but he's like, tell the truth.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yeah,
that was him. And what's his name? Luke Wilson plays what's his name? The head of the NFL. What's that guy's name?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy.
The guy who shoot. This is gonna bug me. I should know this. But my point is, again, we're talking about how Barry Seal looks nothing like Tom Cruise. Luke Wilson looks nothing like This is gonna bother me. Actually, I'm gonna look it up. Who he plays.
Yeah. Was Luke Wilson just like, this is the NFL?
Kind of.
All right. There's deals, endorsements, products. Okay.
You're getting too close, man. No, he. Will Smith plays Dr. Bennett Omalu, who's a true real life person, a true person. And Luke Wilson is Roger Goodell. That's who it is. That's the name.
That does ring a bell.
And it's very funny because Roger Goodell is in the real Roger Goodell is in the movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner because that movie is like a glorified NFL commercial, right? So it's very funny. But he directed Concussion last year, and then of course this year was the Mark Felt film, and we had a really interesting conversation about the role of Mark Felt in history and what it was like making the movie, and we addressed some of the stuff that Brian, you and I have talked about in reference to the film. So let's go ahead and play that. So just to start things off, I'm watching the news this morning, and we've got a president under investigation criticizing the NFL for being not tough enough. And I was like, man, this is like a conjunction of these of these two. You're like right in the middle with your output.
It's hard for me to even comment coherently on our president.
Well, I guess, I mean, and you have to be aware that people are going to be sort of making these linkages with what's in this film and what's going on. Now, obviously, that wasn't by design.
Right.
But, I mean, is that something that entered into your process as you took the film into post and sort of...
No, I mean, the movie, I wrote this movie 9 years ago and started shooting the movie last May, April, May, before the nomination. So our current administration wasn't even a figment of anybody's nightmarish imagination. So I was editing the movie after Trump had become president, but the story is the story. It's a
history is history.
Well, yeah, I didn't think of this as history. I think this is a story of an individual. It's an incredibly personal character thriller piece. It happens to take place in the past, in a real moment. But I don't think of these as historical dramas. I really don't. In fact, I go out of my way to make them feel and look and be experienced as contemporarily as possible.
How do you approach that as a filmmaker with that in mind? Because, I mean, certainly for me, I'm a student of history, and this is not, there's no real revelations here, and yet I was drawn in, and I was caught up in sort of
what's about people.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I'm not making a movie about history. I'm making a movie about people, and people who have marriages and daughters who are missing, and disappointments and successes, and I cast real actors playing them, and I shoot them. I try to make this movie as beautiful as I could. I'm also a painter and pay a lot of attention to cinematography, and every director does. There's no difference in making this movie than there is in making Fast and the Furious, just without the car chases and the CGI. Characters are character, and the incitement of the movie, the plot is obviously built around an event that has happened, but that's kind of where it ends.
What was your experience with Watergate? I'm assuming it was something that you lived through, or
not really. I mean, I remember Nixon resigning. I was very young.
Yeah.
I just had this image of him on television. But throughout, I became a journalist and a writer and many kinds of storyteller. And Watergate obviously has a symbolic resonance of scandal, in general. So it had that import. But Mark Felt, Deep Throat, look, it's the answer to one of the great political mysteries of our time. It's kind of a trivia game. So when he confessed, I was naturally drawn to this David versus Goliath story. He's such an unnatural, unusual answer to that question.
So was that when the first seedling was planted for you making this film? Was when?
Oh yeah, when he confessed, I fought hard to get the job to write the movie. This is before I was directing.
Okay.
And then after I began directing, and I directed a couple films, I chose to make this one next.
I'm assuming you never got a chance to meet with him before he passed away.
I did.
Oh, you did?
A number of times.
Okay, and that's fascinating. I mean, I want to ask what your impression of the man was, but I feel like this film is.
Yeah, I mean the impression of him is is the movie. It's he's a man of grace and integrity and good humor, but has different personas that he would he'd be in the FBI, he'd be one kind of man, at home he'd be another, with his daughter he'd be another. And in those days, I think men had to play roles and stick to the roles, really adhere to the roles.
Do you? And this is. I was having this conversation with my partner on my show where I said that there was a conversation when he first revealed himself that I have a feeling will come up again of is he a hero? And that's the discussion, and I think to some extent it's a healthy discussion. But do you feel like having Liam Neeson being very very Liam Neeson, is that almost like putting your thumb on the scale to some extent? And
I don't think I don't think of it like that. I don't think look, actors. I mean, we're all artists, and we're all actors, especially at that level, take their job very seriously. His performance in this movie is unlike anything he's done before. He can't escape his body.
That's true.
And he can't escape his voice. These are the tools of his trade.
Yeah.
But before he was in Taken, he was in Schindler's List and Michael Collins, and he was an incredibly experienced stage and Shakespearean actor.
Isn't it funny how it's like he just took this detour into these action pictures, and it's like you're saying. I mean, we forget about Michael Collins and Schindler, and we think of him as this.
It's funny because I missed that whole period. I saw the first Taken, and then I didn't see the others. I never thought of him like that.
Yeah.
But even so, I mean, there are actors in the film who are big TV actors, and I don't think of them as TV actors. I think of them as great actors. Felt is heroic. Liam is a great actor. and has a heroic bearing to him. That's why he's such a great casting choice.
In terms of the research that you did, was there anything about this period that you found surprising, that was something new? And, because our image, and certainly this is for me, obviously, because I wasn't around in the 70s, but my image of that era is shaped by the news coverage and sort of the documents and All the President's Men, etc. What did you find that surprised you in your research?
Actually, how universal it is and how timeless the story is. Political corruption is always the same at the top, and there's always someone with integrity at the bottom who is willing to do something about it, even at his own peril. We're seeing it today. David versus Goliath is an enduring myth for a reason. The period, nothing is different. Nothing changes. Human behavior doesn't change. Human dynamic, political dynamic doesn't change. What interests me is today you could never pull this off anonymously, right? There's a fingerprint on all exchange of information. But in 1972, he was a brilliant counter-espionage agent from World War II. He knew how to distract attention, send it in other directions to protect his own efforts. That I found fascinating. He's such a manipulative, tricky, not deceptive, because to me deception is not malignancy.
Sure.
He was manipulative to really protect his mission, his larger mission.
And we see this depicted to some extent, but in your own discussions with him, did he give an insight into the lead up to this decision? Because and you get into this a little bit, where I mean it's when he's talking to Bruce Greenwood, and it's like, this is a big thing that you're about to do. I mean, what was that? How lengthy was that deliberation?
I think that he tried very hard for 3 months to do it the right way, which was to force the administration, the White House, to allow the FBI to just simply do its job. But then they shut him down, and they pulled the plug on the investigation, and they basically told him, you're finished, you're done. And it was at that point that he realized that if he didn't do this, it wasn't even just about the investigation, it was about the integrity of the FBI itself. And and Nixon's desire to kind of turn it into a KGB machine and return Felt's nemesis, Bill Sullivan, played by Tom Sizemore in the movie.
It was so good.
That was really his point.
Okay.
And so that's when he went to Woodward and to Sandy Smith and others and began to leak real information.
That notion of turning to the press, I mean, that feels so relevant today, and this idea of the institutional safety nets that we have, one being, as depicted in the film, the FBI, and then the relying on a free press to, I mean, it's just that, as you say, the timelessness of it. I mean, I couldn't help but watch this film and be thinking about the job our journalists are doing right now in this minute, just trying to keep the lights on, keep things illuminated. Mm-hmm. And that was what really struck me in a profound way.
Yeah, and there are also people in government who are trying to do the same thing, but they're constrained because they're not reporters, they don't have an outlet, they don't have anybody to talk to or write their stuff down and have it read. There are people in the FBI who are just trying to do their job. Bob Mueller, the special prosecutor, is just he's trying to do his job.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing that stuck out to me was I just watched All the President's Men relatively recently, a few weeks ago, and I love how essentially these two films sort of butt up against each other. And there's this little overlap, like a Venn diagram, right in the middle. Yeah. And I love like we've got these two stories happening separately.
Yeah. It's true that that garage scene is certainly something that they share. But other than that, Bob Woodward didn't know Mark Felt really as a man at all. In fact, the revelations in this movie about the wife and daughter were revelations to him. He didn't know.
Wow.
And he didn't know the wife had killed herself. He didn't know the daughter had disappeared. And they didn't really care. That Felt to them was a source of information.
So Mark Felt is in theaters now, and why don't we take a little break, Brian, and then we'll tackle some listener letters on the way back.
Let's do it.
All right, welcome back. And Brian, we do have some listener letters.
All right.
So let's dive in. So this is from Imran, who is one of our regulars, and he says, I would love to hear you guys' take on the Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey issues during the filming of Batman Forever, because if there's anything this show is, it is current. After this, we're going to talk about trouble on the set of The Godfather. No, but I mean, the reason this comes up, I don't know if you've heard this, but Jim Carrey was on the Norm Macdonald podcast. And Jim Carrey, by the way, is it just me or does it feel like he's kind of unraveling before our eyes?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to call it. I think he's just letting it all hang loose. Like there's sort of a facade that actors put up out there, a little wall, but he's just like, this is who I am. I think a lot. I talk a lot. And he's not.
I remember a couple years ago, he put out this YouTube video where he was singing the praises of Emma Stone.
Yeah. I actually never watched that because I thought the cringe would be too high. I can't watch cringy stuff.
There was a whole lot of cringe.
Yeah. And I saw recently too, he was like, man, people didn't get it. It's like, okay.
I mean, I get it. It's just, but what he vocalized was like the thought process that most people have in their heads and are like, I'm not going to say that because that's creepy as F.
Right.
And I say that, by the way, as a close personal friend of Emma Stone, having met her exactly a year ago yesterday. I don't know if you knew that, Brian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, I did know that. I remember.
How many times have you met
did you see
Emma
the
Stone?
video speaking? I'm sorry?
I said, how many times have you met Emma Stone?
One less than you.
Okay. I'm just checking the scoreboard on that. But what were you saying? Sorry.
Well, I was going to say also in the Jim Carrey thing, did you see that video that came out recently about his painting?
No.
So there was a video that came out, and I think people were thrown by it because they were waiting for the joke. And there was no joke. It's just a 5-minute video about how these days he paints. He has a studio, and he paints a lot, and he takes it seriously, and he talks seriously about it the whole time. And I think it threw everyone for a loop because they weren't expecting...
People are expecting the funny man to be funny.
Yeah, and then along those lines as well, I saw the Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee thing with Jerry Seinfeld with Jim Carrey.
Oh, wow.
Which was also... I think that's why, with his whole unraveling thing, I think I'm like, I feel like I'm starting to figure out kind of what he's like. And on that episode, they hang out with him for an entire day. And you can see him, he starts off trying to be goofy, and he hops over a fence to meet Jerry, and he's, I'm Jim Carrey. But then over time, I mean, he naturally has to calm down a little bit, and you can see him become who he is and the things he thinks about. And and then they go into a coffee shop, and there's people like, oh, that's Jim Carrey. And then you can see him like, okay, I got to turn it on again.
Oh, wow.
Kind of a thing. And I was like, oh, what I don't know. I'm not claiming to understand
now
it at all,
I feel terrible, Brian.
No, I find him to be an interesting person.
I think it's unconnected to Jim Carrey, but I was watching Jerry Seinfeld because he's out there promoting this new Netflix special, which I want to see, by the way. It looks funny, but I was thinking about the fact that here's Jerry and he's like 60 something now, and he's still funny. Right. Like you're like, oh, I want to hear what Jerry Seinfeld has to say about this because it'll be fun. Mm-hmm. And to some extent, I was Curb Your Enthusiasm just started again after like 6 years, and you can watch that and be like, oh, there's Larry David, and he's being Larry David. And I think just using them as an example, or even like Louis C.K., they have an advantage because their humor is not like dick and fart joke based. Mm-hmm. In the same way, like it's a humor that reflects their observations of their life, and that means that the humor matures along with them. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think Jim Carrey, we had this conversation when Dumb and Dumber 2 came out. Like, it's not funny when you have a 50-year-old guy doing that.
Yes.
Right, and I think, just piggybacking off what you're saying, I mean, that's kind of the box he finds himself in. And, to a lesser extent, that was sort of the problem that Robin Williams found as he was getting older, too.
Yeah.
is
like his manic.
right. That manic persona that at some point I mean that was the reason that he had gone back to television to some extent, because it wasn't playing on the big screen anymore.
Right.
In the same way. Not to say that that's the reason he obviously whatever happened with him, but definitely it's different problems that comedians face.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I'm sure Jerry Seinfeld, if you were to get him in an unguarded moment, would be like, "Man, I'm not just the funny guy. I also have thoughts about." I'm sure this is something that transcends the style of comedy. I think it's just you want to be more than what you are, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anywho, what were we talking about? Oh yeah.
Well, Jim Carrey. Well, this all sort of ties together with Jim Carrey's humor, because at the height of Jim Carrey humor, that was him talking out of his butt.
Yeah.
And literally,
yeah,
on screen
at the Oscars.
And then when you have a guy like that, you think, let's put him next to Tommy Lee Jones, right?
So when he was signed to play the Riddler in Batman Forever, that was like Pete Carey, because he was coming off Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber and The Mask.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he was a bona fide superstar, and he shot up like a rocket. And so this is not something that's new, by the way, because Jim Carrey talked about this on the Norm Macdonald show about how he and Tommy Lee Jones didn't get along. But this was something that even Joel Schumacher talked about. He said that he didn't mince any words. He said that Tommy Lee Jones was just an absolute jerk to Jim Carrey. So this is definitely not something new. But it's also not that surprising. I mean, I think it gets to like when you factor in the fact that Tommy Lee Jones, who had been kicking around the industry for like since the Eisenhower administration, right? And he kind of had blown up relatively recently too.
Yeah, 93-ish, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, because I would say Under Siege plus The Fugitive.
Yeah.
And Fugitive just, shot him into the stratosphere, where he's remained since. And then he probably looks at this Jim Carrey kid, who had been around for a while too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Not just in Living Color, but I mean, he's in Kiss from a Vampire, and he's in the Deadpool, I think. So I mean, it's not like he just kind of appeared out of the clear blue sky. But for whatever reason, I think Tommy Lee Jones felt threatened by the fact that Jim Carrey was getting the lion's share of publicity and attention, I would guess, on the set, because he's like the wild and goofy guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Tommy Lee Jones is many things, but wild and goofy are not two adjectives that would be in the top 20 of how you describe him.
Right. And you've got to imagine, too, if this is Pete Carey, and like I was saying in that Seinfeld thing, when he sees people, he thinks, oh, this is the Jim Carrey they want. So he becomes that Jim Carrey.
Right.
When at Pete Carey in the middle 90s, you got to imagine he was potentially a little insufferable.
I would guess, yeah, because, and I'll tell you how I can be reasonably certain of that, because at Pete, one of the side effects of Pete Carey was a bunch of people, like in everyday life, who tried to emulate Jim Carrey.
Sort of like the Borat.
Yeah. And that, you talk about insufferable. I mean, imagine a bunch of like college sophomores doing that.
All righty then.
Yeah. Oh,
so they're like, their teachers.
Oh.
Your homework's a little late, and then they snap their fingers and.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to imagine that there's all the related tentacles to that whole thing. But given that, it's not terribly surprising. I always hear these stories about people being jerks to each other on the set, and I mean, just as a person, I'm like, can't you just like be a human for a little while? Like what?
I know.
You get to play dress up, and you get paid millions of dollars. That's reflexively what you want to say. But when you watch Batman Forever, it comes to light why TommyLee Jones has like dialed it up to 15 as Two-Face.
Oh yeah,
because he's probably just trying to compete.
Yeah. Well, and then the quote. Did you have the quote there? Where on the Norm Macdonald show, Jim Carrey ran into Tommy Lee Jones during filming at a restaurant.
Yes.
And was like, oh, I guess the maitre d' said, oh, I hear you're working with Tommy Lee Jones. He's over in the corner having dinner. So he says he went over and was like, hey, Tommy, how you doing? And his quote is, and the blood just drained from his face. And eventually told Jim Carrey, I cannot sanction your buffoonery.
Which, can't you just imagine Tommy Lee Jones saying that?
Yes, I can.
I cannot sanction your buffoonery.
You know, it's funny, just as a little aside, I think I mentioned this to you one time, but when I was in Japan just about a year ago, and it was amusing to me because there would be these advertisements everywhere for this coffee with Tommy Lee Jones as the spokesperson. So it was like crusty old Tommy Lee Jones in a suit without a smile, holding up this little coffee can. And I was thinking, what about, like, what of all the actors, just pick, just having, I can imagine him in the commercials, just sort of like, drink this coffee or not, I don't care.
Well, but Brian, think about this. Let's say you're walking along the street and Tommy Lee Jones comes up to you. Hey,
yes,
I want you to drink this coffee. You're going to drink that coffee.
I'd be like, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, thank you.
You take a sip. That's good. No, drink it all.
Yeah.
You would do it. It's like scalding hot. No, I want you to chug it.
Right.
You would do it.
Didn't your mama ever teach you to finish your dinner? Finishing the coffee.
That's very funny, but
You're a great coal miner's daughter. He just walks away.
It's funny because definitely, I mean, we talk about peak Carey. That was peak Tommy Lee for a while there.
I mean, Men in Black and all that. Like, yeah, for sure.
I mean, he was in like every movie. It felt like, remember Cobb and like Blue Sky or whatever that was with Jessica Lange. I mean, there was a while there where it was like you would see a movie commercial on TV and odds were you could roll the dice and pretty good chance it would star Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
Blown Away. Remember that?
Oh yeah, Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, right?
Yeah.
So anywho, that's our thoughts on the great Jones v. Carey feud of '95.
I'd like to see them reunite, like some sort of buddy midnight run kind of movie.
You know what? Honestly, set up a GoPro at a table at a diner and have them sit there for 90 minutes. I'd watch the shit out of that.
Yeah, like My Dinner with Andre.
Yeah.
My Dinner with Tommy or something.
My Dinner with Tommy. Yeah. All right, so another comment here. This is from Rob Kelly, one of our regulars. I always love Rob's reviews of our shows. And he says, great episode as usual, guys. Why, thank you. One comment, when Zachy surmises that Crash beat out Brokeback Mountain due to latent homophobia, and this is in reference to the conversation we were having last episode, about undeserving movies winning Best Picture at the Oscars. Mm-hmm. And I said, in my infinite wisdom, that I think Crash partially won because people in Hollywood don't like to admit it that maybe they're slightly homophobic. At least Hollywood circa whenever that was, 2006 or whatever.
Middle 2000s.
He was more right than he knew, he meaning me. In fact, it wasn't even latent. I remember at the time some reporter asked Hollywood legend and Academy voter Ernest Borgnine if he had voted for Brokeback Mountain, and he flat out said, I'd never vote for some gay cowboy movie.
Oh, wow.
You have to add the Ernest Borgnine laugh. I know he came from a very different generation, but I've never been able to watch one of his old movies the same way since.
Well, there you have it.
There you have it.
Yeah, what's go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say this is the same Ernest Borgnine who he passed away recently, but a few years before he died, somebody said, "What's the secret to your longevity?" And he whispered, "I masturbate a lot."
Seriously?
Yep. I'm just gonna let that image circulate in my mind.
Moving on.
You're welcome. But what were you saying?
Oh no! I was just going to mention the Academy. I saw some article. This is an unrelated story, but they're sending out Dunkirk DVDs. And
they're sending out Blu-rays. I read
for the first time, if you want. And they mentioned, sending out to the, I forget the number now, but it was like 7,000, 8,000 members of the Academy, and I was like, wow, I had no idea it was that big.
That's crazy.
Anyway, to tie into this story, I mean, obviously, there are the faces we imagine of the Academy, like George Clooney and whatnot, but there's a lot of people represented in there. And
so a lot
opinions on
a diversity of point of views, yeah. So and I mean I've actually thought about this discussion. I mean the the veneer of sophistication offered by winning Best Picture is not as timeless as one thinks. Because I think that if you were to look at any like 25-year slice of Best Picture winners, you could point to maybe a quarter of them that are truly timeless.
Yeah, I begin to wonder that even more and more if it matters.
Yeah,
as things get a little more fractured, and people like what they like. Things that are popular in social media culture and whatnot. I don't know that there's really when you herald one movie above them all, I don't know that really matters so much anymore.
I will say this. I tend to pay more attention when actors get nominations for performances, for example, than the films themselves. Because to me, you're trying to pull from too many things. Like let me put it this way. I think it means more when you say, "Oh, check out this movie." So and so was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, or they won Best Supporting. You're like, "Oh, okay, I want to check that out." Mm-hmm. That's me. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree with that.
That's our Oscar moment there. And one last comment here. This is from Tyler Kloster, who references Brian in our last episode in one of our tangents, was talking about a stupid human trick that he did while in the audience for According to Jim.
Yeah.
I think you referred to that as the highlight of your life.
Yeah.
Is performing for the According to Jim studio audience.
Yeah.
And so you were describing some elaborate, yoga contortion thing that you did, and I said, "This is some great audio," because I didn't know what the hell you were saying. And this is Tyler. He says, "Gotta say, I used to have a friend who could do the same trick with her arms that Brian talked about doing. At least if I understood his description correctly. It looked so creepy and unnatural. It would freak me out every time, and I would have to beg her to, oh my God, stop."
Sounds right.
So to which I say, I guess it was good audio.
Yeah.
So kudos to
thanks,
that.
Tyler. I'm glad that you received what I was trying to put out there, the visual image.
Well, Brian, I got to say, people describe me as creepy and unnerving without having to do all that stuff. So yet again, advantage Zachy.
Right.
We got some headlines, though, Brian.
Yeah.
We got a few. Now this is a story. Last time we talked about Harry Knowles being a creepy sexual harassing scumbag.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak.
Sadly, yeah.
Because in the last 36 hours, number one, we had this story break about Harvey Weinstein. Mm-hmm. He of the Weinstein Company and Miramax, being a serial harasser in really profoundly creepy ways.
Yeah.
Not to say there's a non-creepy way to harass. But
no, but
sometimes you excel.
He had an MO for sure, and it was really disturbing to read.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, this is a blockbuster story that broke in the New York Times, and it contains, Ashley Judd telling her story of multiple times that he harassed her. Rose McGowan talking about what happened to her 20 years ago, plus plenty of people who are nowhere near that visibility, but kind of the same thing. Like, hey, come up to my suite and we'll have a meeting. And hey, do you mind if I shower in front of you while we discuss this? Like, just really stuff that's bizarre in any number of ways. But
yep.
to me, what's the most fascinating in a car wreck way is Brian, you hear that story and you're just like, well, why would you do that? Right? That's just not a normal thing for people to do.
Right.
And the fact that you have the level of power / prestige or whatever where you feel okay doing this, and knowing that it doesn't matter what anybody says, you'll still be fine.
That was the most difficult part of reading that article, was just how easily he was able to make it all go away.
Right.
He like you said, he was a serial creeper.
Yes.
But it became, he knew exactly how to make it go away every time.
Yeah,
it was just disturbing. Someone with that level of power leveraging that sort of power over people.
It's crazy because somebody like Ashley Judd, who has been a star for at least the past, say, quarter century. Mm-hmm. Let's even say, 20 years, let's say. Mm-hmm. She's a big enough star that she could have drawn attention to this, right? Mm-hmm. And yet, and I want to be very clear, I'm not blaming the victim at all. What my point I'm making is even she recognized that I, Ashley Judd, cannot change this. Like, there's nothing I can say that's going to stop this. You know what I mean? And I was just thinking, that's got to be so disheartening for these young ladies.
I know. And it's a drop in the bucket so far, but it is encouraging that the dam is beginning to break.
Yes.
Right? More people are feeling encouraged to speak up and speak out, and hopefully that is the way the tide is turning now, and then it puts a stop to this behavior.
Now the subtle, like, courtroom intrigue here is that apparently Bob Weinstein, who is the brother and co-founder of the company, was one of the people who leaked this stuff.
Really?
Yes. And
I didn't see that.
Yeah, because apparently he wants to push Harvey out and take over. So there's some Game of Thrones stuff going on too.
That is, I can't even imagine. When I hear some of these, like, crazy family dynamics, I can't even fathom it. What a...
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You know, now, somewhat related to this, yet another, and this was in the wake of the Weinstein story, is Andy Signore, who is the guy who invented Honest Trailers. So he has, hosts the Screen Junkies show. He's another one of these Harry Knowles type characters.
Yeah, like you mean wielding his position of authority in whatever sort of geek culture company he has, to try to hit on women in completely inappropriate ways.
In the most kind of repugnant ways, and there's several women have come forward, but one woman in particular talks about how she was essentially working with him basically for free on some kind of an internship or whatever, and so he finds like a suggestive pictorial that she had done at some point. And he basically tells her, "Hey, these pictures do you mind if I pleasure myself to these pictures?"
Wow, I hadn't read that.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where you're just like, it's, they say that power doesn't change you, it reveals you.
Right.
You know? And I keep coming back to that, right? Because clearly this is a situation where he thought it was okay, and it's the same as Harvey Weinstein. I mean, in the same... The protection of power, because Screen Junkies has known about this for however long. These complaints are not new, but they swept it under the rug. Mm-hmm. Why? Because Andy Signore is the brand by virtue of Honest Trailers, and this young lady's not.
Right.
So it's I would say it's like disheartening, but truly it's not, because I didn't have any investment in any of these people. My emotional capital is not tied up in them not being horrible people. I just assumed, well, you're not horrible, and then you find out that they are, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess you are horrible.
Yeah. Well, it's just disturbing. I mean, that this goes on, and as you have the curtain lifted more and more and more, seeing the amount of instances that you can only fathom what we don't know. And you just hope that, these people who are perpetrating this stuff become revealed and get the justice that they deserve, the punishment.
This is true. So I would imagine that between now and the next time we record, there may end up being yet more stories coming out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving on, this is a story that actually we meant to talk about last time. For some reason, it just slipped us right by. The saga of Terminator 6 is continuing on.
6.
I think, audience, you've just heard what Brian thinks about this story.
Well, it's exhausting. I think what's interesting about this, I can't believe. Okay, so the last good one was 2.
Yes.
Right.
You know what? I'll go so far as to say 3, although that's obviously a polarizing statement.
I actually find that most people tend to agree with you, sort of with a little forgiveness,
with like a caveat.
Three's all right. I just don't like 3. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just personally, I don't ever watch it or think about it. But so it's just funny that you have 2, which was the last, movie that everyone universally
Let's agree. Yeah, let's
revered.
agree that there's universal agreement on the second one.
Yes. And now, by the time we get to 6, they're basically like, we're going to wipe out everything that happened before this except for 1 and 2.
Yes. Which is
So they're doing one of those.
which is
like
what-
Superman Returns.
right, and bear in mind that's what this series has done to some extent for like every previous movie. It feels like.
Yeah. It all exactly. But it's so that's what we're setting up for. I mean, the only reason to be excited about Terminator 6 is the fact that James Cameron is back for it,
But he's not
as a
directing.
producer and probably some sort of guiding Godfather-esque
Yes.
figure on it. Directed by Tim Miller, who did Deadpool, and this is his second feature film, so that's kind of interesting, also.
Yes.
But and it's going to have Linda Hamilton returning as Sarah Connor,
Yes.
which is also interesting. So
It's interesting that announcement came that Linda Hamilton's coming back like the day after the announcement that Jamie Lee Curtis was coming back for the 40th anniversary Halloween movie. I'm like, are we just doing like action grandmas now?
Well, I'm all for it. Anything that makes it feel closer to the world that I love, I'm all for. If they have a story they think is worth telling, even we talk about aging action stars and Schwarzenegger and Harrison Ford and whatnot. I'm all for it if they can find a story that doesn't make their age ridiculous. If there is an older Terminator story that even has less action, but it's a worthwhile story,
Sure.
I'm in. So
Now-
just make it worth my time. Make it worthy of the franchise.
And which is what you've said about I think every single previous entry, right?
Yes.
Right. This is the third. I think I've said this before. This is meant to start a new trilogy. So this will be the third Terminator. We have now a trilogy of Terminator movies that are intended to start different trilogies.
I think it's one thing. I think they should make this like A New Hope,
Okay.
where it's a movie that could kick off a trilogy, but it should
doesn't need
completely
to.
be able to stand on its own.
Right.
Right? I mean, stop it with the planning the 3 movie thing.
The shared universe.
Yeah, just pump the brakes there a little bit. And
By the way-
let's worry about the first story.
It does feel a little bit like James Cameron can't get out of his own way because he's stepped in it about 15 times in the last 3 months when he's asked about the Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, that guy.
You've seen this, right? So his contention, which he's entitled to, he's like, Wonder Woman is not as groundbreaking as people think. But his rationale is like, look at how sexy and attractive Gal Gadot is. I mean, that's ridiculous. Look, if you want, basically what he's saying is, hey, she's all sexy and attractive. No, it's got to be like Linda Hamilton.
Right.
Like, in other words, nobody finds Linda Hamilton attractive. That's the difference. Like, that's the implication.
Right.
And I'm like, Jim, you might want to think through what you're like. The math doesn't work here. It's the thing is that you watch Wonder Woman, and you can easily see the version of that movie that like Michael Bay would have made.
Yes.
And how the camera would have just been, luxuriating in every inch of her body. Mm-hmm. And I think it says something about how Patty Jenkins shot it, that she is gorgeous. There's no getting around that, but she's not sexualized unless you think of the Wonder Woman outfit as inherently sexualized. And well, that's that comes with the package. You can't do anything about that. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But so this is due to come out 2019, I want to say.
Feels like every movie is coming out 2020 now, right? Like,
Yeah,
it seems
right.
like Avatar. Oh, the Bob's Burgers movie, which got announced, which is really cool.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
What else? Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Indiana
Keep hearing
Jones
the
is-
year 2020, but yeah, 2019. That seems sooner. That's great.
and it's coming out the same weekend as the announced Fast and Furious spinoff. Did you see this?
No, well, go ahead. I did not hear about the spinoff. I just saw Tyrese's comments about the Fast and Furious Prime series.
So a few months ago, or a few weeks ago, whatever,
Tyrese put out a thing on Twitter aimed at Dwayne Johnson, saying, "Don't do this spin-off Fast and Furious movie with him doing Hobbs and presumably teaming up with Jason Statham." And he's like, "Don't do it." And he's like, "We got kids in private school." Or it was like a whole thing. And it was basically like what you realize reading that is that Tyrese is not playing a character in Fast and Furious.
Right.
I don't think they give him a script. I think they're just like Roman talks, and it's just Tyrese.
Yeah, right.
That's my sense. So Dwayne Johnson did not heed Tyrese's warning. Tyrese was like, "You're breaking up the family. What about what about your family?" Oh wait, that's what's her name, Michelle Rodriguez. And so Universal first announces that they have delayed Fast and Furious 9 until 2020, and they have instead slotted in a spin-off movie starring Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham, which again I'm really hoping will be called The Bald and the Beautiful. I'll be disappointed if that's not the title. Now, you got to admit, if you're Universal, this is a smart move.
Yeah.
One person who disagrees is our old friend Tyrese,
Right.
who unleashed a rant on Instagram, which, to be honest, I could not decipher because it was so full of like hashtags and contractions, and it's like another language. But he's not happy. Let's put it that way.
And he even in his note said, "I don't care. I'm not taking this down. I'm not deleting this post."
Which now, if you're Dwayne Johnson, does that matter to you?
I'm certain it doesn't.
Yeah, like in the orbit of those movies, like if you're Universal, who is more expendable for a Fast and Furious movie? Is it Roman or Hobbs?
Right.
You know, and it's very funny because I genuinely I can see why like Vin Diesel has resentment towards Dwayne Johnson, which is what we've heard.
Yes.
Because it's almost like you need those two characters more than you need any of the others.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Dwayne Johnson is not in the 9th Fast and Furious, audience will be disappointed.
Right.
You know?
But I will admit, when I saw the hashtag F9, April 10th, 2020, I was like, that is really far away.
It is. Well, I think the original plan, and maybe this is still the plan, was to have, this is going to be 19, and that's been kicked off. But the last one, or quote unquote last one, the 10th Fast and Furious movie, was going to come out 2021, which would be exactly 20 years after the first one.
I mean, I get the symmetry of it, and that's nice, but that is still a long ways away. And I'm sure people will show up, but I don't know. I do agree with Tyrese, actually, that's a long time to keep fans hanging. But on the other hand, I don't know. Maybe they expect this.
Well, hold on a second. I mean, what year is this? 2017, right? And
yeah.
The latest one just came out, right?
Was that this year? Yeah,
it was this year. So you're talking about 3 years from one movie to the next, and there's gonna be a Fast Universe movie in the middle there. So I mean,
yeah, that's true.
Tyrese is being very like, this is a Tyrese problem, is my point.
Oh yeah. So the thing is I understand why he feels the way that he feels.
Yeah,
but the way that he's handling it is not. Is unbecoming. I think this is. I think he's hoping to rally the troops and get people to agree with him.
Yeah, and I don't think people care.
No.
I mean, that's like, dude, pick up the phone, right? Or I'm going to throw this out there. See if the Transformers people want you back.
There you go.
They're still making those movies, you know?
Yeah.
But while we're talking about Universal, see, now you're talking about like, it seems presumptuous potentially to announce a sequel that's that far out, and it's like, well, if any franchise has earned that, it's Fast and Furious.
Yes,
because you've got 16 years of success. On the other hand, what was presumptuous was the same studio, Universal, saying, "Hey, we have 57 shared universe monster movies coming up." You ready?
right.
Here we go. The Mummy, Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster, son of Frankenstein, Frankenstein's neighbor, Billy, Dracula's illegitimate son. You know, I mean, they had the whole thing planned out.
Yeah.
That was, and we said, seems maybe a little bit arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say. And so we're seeing sort of the wheels come off of that. This has been an ongoing question on our show. Will the dark universe succeed?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we care? I don't know.
Because we need to talk about something.
We got content to fill, but we got airtime we got to fill. Yeah. But this is a story broke earlier this week that the Bride of Frankenstein film, which to be honest, I had assumed it was already filming.
Yeah, I thought so too. They've been talking about it for so long.
Yeah, so it's going to be directed by Bill Condon, who did Ghosts and not Ghosts, Gods and Monsters, which was a tribute to the Universal Monsters, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But it was going to star, they said, Angelina Jolie and as the bride, and Javier Bardem as the Frankenstein monster. And I had just assumed everyone was signed, sealed, and delivered. Turns out that's not the case because the script is not done yet. So Universal is taking a step back. They're taking a breather. They're saying, we're going to come back to this once the script is ready to go. And the actors have said, okay, well, give us a script. So they haven't signed on yet. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was like a pictorial in like Vanity Fair or something, remember? With like Tom Cruise and Javier Bardem was in there. And
Wow.
Johnny Depp, the Invisible Man.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And none of that's the case, it turns out.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Well, yeah, now it's been postponed, and I guess I'm looking at one of these articles here. It says from an insider that the mandate has been more or less that they wanted these to work as PG-rated action movies / theme park rides, not horror movies. And it seems like there's probably like a tug of war over there about what these movies are. It seems like they still haven't figured that out.
Yeah, I heard one person say, we want it to be like Fast and Furious meets the Avengers.
That is such a studio executive comment.
That's like something out of The Simpsons, isn't it?
That is like, yeah, police, cops, cops.
Now, what they've said is that they want Angelina Jolie to play the bride, but like Bill Condon's like, but I'd be happy with like Gal Gadot.
Yeah, I was like, oh, wow, okay,
rare.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
if you're Angelina Jolie, I'd be like, okay,
right? And I'm kind of like, does Gal Gadot have a say in this? Because
exactly, yeah.
I don't think it's just plug and play,
Yeah. These are the sort of things you don't say out loud just yet until you have things a little more figured out on paper.
I mean, it's the sense seems to be that Angelina Jolie being like, "Hey, give me a script first," is them being like, "Oh, well, la-di-da. Guess who's being like, Little Miss wants a script,"
Right.
I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
Not at all.
But it's funny because I think Javier Bardem is like a great choice.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
The thing with Javier Bardem, which I think is so interesting, is depending on what light you see him in, he's either this stunningly handsome, ruggedly handsome, manly man.
Like Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
Exactly. Or he
Bardem.
looks like a man who's sewn together from corpses. It's just depending on...
Like the No Country for Old Men, Javier Bardem.
Depending on the lighting.
Yes.
Within the same shot, you could do that. So I think that's fascinating.
That's funny.
Either ruggedly handsome or sewn up skin bag. That's a compliment to Javier Bardem and his abilities. So we'll see. So somebody online was asking, "Do you think that the Bride of Frankenstein movie is going to get made?" I'm putting my money on no, it will not get made.
Yeah. I think so too, or at least it's not going to get made with Angelina Jolie or Gal Gadot.
Yeah. I mean, it just, to me, it goes back to that like really swanky opening thing, not even sequence, like the title thing in front of the mummy, trumpeting the dark universe.
Oh yeah.
And it occurs to me, I was like, if you look at like a Marvel Universe movie now, right? It's like, here's Captain America and Iron Man. They have the whole thing. You know what I'm talking about? Where you see all the heroes. Mm-hmm. And it says Marvel Studios. I'm like, they waited 10 years to do that.
Yes. And I understand now, well, they were, so to speak, the first to do that in the way that they have in the past 10-ish years, whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
Not the first to cross character movies, but you understand what I'm saying. The first big studio to kind of do this cross-pollination thing. And so it exists. We're familiar with it. So I understand where the studios feel like they have to, they're like, fans understand this. And if we can get them excited about that idea with all of these monsters, like I get it, but it does lead to a lot of assuming, right?
Yeah.
Of things that have not been figured out yet. So it's a I don't know, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
It's a shame, and I'll say I've mentioned before, I'm a huge fan of the Universal monsters. I actually just yesterday purchased on Vudu. They have like a sale on all those classic Universal monster movies. And I got the whole bunch of them, Frankenstein, Ghost of Frankenstein, all of them, because I love them. I'm looking forward to going through them with the kids. I think it's already a great shared universe. And I think what's tripping it up is Fast and Furious meets Avengers. Like, guys, this is not. What are you doing?
Yeah. They gotta get over that and let it be what it's supposed to be. And then you get some filmmakers who are excited about making the best versions of the things they're supposed to be. And then,
I mean, I'll tell you, I think Warner Brothers / DC are absolutely ecstatic at this, because suddenly they're not the most club-footed shared universe in existence. Suddenly they look like they know what they're doing.
Yep.
Well,
at least we weren't planning on talking about this, but it seems like they have had they've paid for it, but now they are like, okay, we will course correct.
Yeah, and I think the best thing possible is they brought on Jeff Johns to sort of be the Kevin Feige, if you will, of the DC universe, and he's done that for the comics already, and he's like the perfect guy to be doing it. I mean, I think, I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm certainly not viewing the impending release of Justice League with any kind of dread. I'm kind of like, I hope it's going to be good,
Yeah. Well, sadly, I have to admit, I'm looking at it with indifference, to be honest.
Indifference is not dread, though.
No, not dread.
Yeah.
More like I think I might have said on the show. I've said it certainly to my friends. Like, I could go my whole life and never watch that movie.
That's
where
I'm
I'm at.
I mean, but you're not going to go your whole life without watching that movie. So it's
You're
coming,
welcome, guys.
but we know Brian's state of mind going in.
It'll be like the Gunslinger movie. Why can I never remember? Dark Tower. Yeah.
I mean, I think with Justice League, I'm kind of like, I've revised my expectations that I don't think it's possible for me to blanch the way I did after Batman v Superman, because I know what the poles of my own expectations are.
I think that's it. And I mean, this is a whole huge discussion, but knowing that it's being revised a little bit and retooled, certainly with things in mind, I feel like they're still shooting. I thought I read this as of this past week.
They are furiously cranking away trying to get the sucker done. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the trailer before Blade Runner, and I was like, I just don't care about this. But I'm hoping. But I realized that they're shooting apparently at least 40% of the movie over. So, what I'm seeing in the trailer very likely isn't going to represent what we're going to get in November. So,
right. I was at the movie theater. I was at the movie theater last week or whenever it was, and I saw the poster, and it's got all of the Justice League on it. And I looked at that poster, and I said, you know what? Come what may, there's a Justice League movie that's happening.
Yeah.
It's about to be a real thing. And come on. I was like, let's allow that moment for 10-year-old Zachy to just be blown away by that,
Totally.
And so from now until November 17th, that's going to be my mindset going in. I'm going to be like hoping for the best. I hope they pull out something that I will enjoy,
Yeah.
But that is a conversation we will return to. We do have a new Star Wars movie coming in a few months, Brian.
I know. Can't believe it. And we mentioned last episode that it's already in the can. It's done.
Yes.
So it's sort of weird thinking that it's just sitting on a shelf somewhere. I imagine it's like a rickety old janitor's closet.
So
sitting on the top shelf, just waiting.
No, it's a file on a computer.
yeah, I know.
That somebody, so it'd be funny if all they have is just the one file, nobody has backed it up, and somebody just deletes it by accident.
Well, it doesn't come out for a couple months. Why would I make more?
So yeah, that comes out in December, and that is our Star Wars news for this episode. Brian. There's nothing. We're in like the lull.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're waiting for this one, and then Han Solo that's kind of been fun. I don't know if you follow Ron Howard on Instagram. Every now and then he posts sort of teasery pictures that have been kind of fun. I've enjoyed, especially, he's not, he's an older guy. I didn't know how a nice way to say it. I'm an older guy too, but he, it's just kind of fun. He's playing the young man's game on Instagram and being all cute and coy and posting all these sort of here's the floor of the Millennium Falcon tee, kind of pictures. I'm enjoying it.
It occurs to me that neither you nor I should be referring to anyone else as old.
I know. I was sometimes when we're talking live, when you write, you can like backspace and find a better way to say something. You can't do that when we're recording live.
I turned 38 last week, and it occurred to me that I get to be part of that hallowed 18 to 39 demographic for one more year.
That's funny.
I matter for one more year, basically.
What's funny? This is like total real life discussion, but I was at the doctor the other day and I had to fill out like all this stuff, and it was like, if you're below this age, answer these questions, and if you're above this age, answer these questions. And I was in that middle ground. Mm-hmm. No one wanted to ask me any questions. I was like, what? I'm in a weird period of my life here. No questions.
No questions, and that's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah. This is us, Zachy.
All right, so that's our Star Wars news / Brian and Zachy dealing with their own impending mortality conversation. It's a twofer this time. But let's take a little break, and then on the flip side, we can talk about this week's new release, Blade Runner 2049. And we're back, and Blade Runner is back, Brian, after 35 years. The Blade Runner franchise? I don't know. Would this be considered a franchise? It is now, I guess.
At this point, it's a sequel, right? And then if we get one more, we got a franchise.
We got a franchise.
We get the trilogy they had been planning. Oh,
yeah, right. Shared universe. 35 years ago, Blade Runner came out, and it flopped big time.
Yep.
This is worth pointing out, because for as much as the original film is retroactively beloved, it most certainly was not when it came out originally.
Right.
Actually, let me ask you, where do you stand when it comes to the original Blade Runner?
It's a movie that I really appreciate and admire, and if it's on, I'm happy to watch it because it's beautiful to look at, and I'm the type of movie viewer where I can watch a slower film as long as I'm engaged in some way with it. And in that movie, I really love taking in the visuals of that movie, but I don't find myself endeared to it necessarily, like a lot of people are, if that makes sense.
I think you and I are on the exact same line of the same page.
Yeah.
In the same book. Yeah, I'm exactly the same way. I actually revisited the original film earlier this week in preparation to seeing the new one. And I hadn't seen it at this point, it's probably been 20 years since I saw it the last time.
Oh, wow.
So it had been a while. And I had the same reaction. I was like, this is a good movie. I do feel like the cult that exists around it, I don't respond to it in the same way as a lot of people do. Some people like it's the greatest movie I've ever seen, the original one. And I have to be honest and say I don't really understand that.
Yeah, I would agree. For me personally.
Yeah,
it's a slow moving. For me, it's immersive.
Yes.
And you choose for 2 hours, do I want to be immersed in something? I don't find this story necessarily compelling. Right?
Yeah, and
I mean, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but
well, it's okay. So the film is based on the novel "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep," and it's Philip K. Dick who specialized in kind of really mind-bending kind of science fiction, and Harrison Ford is the Blade Runner of the title. Why are they called Blade Runners, by the way? Don't know. It's never explained.
No, but it is cool.
It's cool sound. It sounds better than
sounds
Do
cool.
Androids Dream of Electric Sheep as a title. Philip K. Dick did not think about the movie side, clearly, when he came up with
right.
like Total Recall, We Can Remember It For You Wholesale is the title, right?
That's funny.
So Harrison Ford stars, Ridley Scott directs, and you get it, that this movie came out in between one Indiana Jones movie and one Star Wars movie. So you say, oh, Harrison Ford making a movie with the guy who made Alien, you kind of have certain expectations which were not met. And so the fact that the original movie flopped, despite it being kind of an artistic triumph, is not hugely surprising. That's 100% understandable. Now, as somebody who appreciates the film, I had this thought, again, rewatching it, I'm like, there's nothing about the movie that, to me at least, says, I need more of this.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that was a good experience, gave me a lot to think about, and I'm done now. That's not to say I was like, we don't need a sequel ever, but there wasn't anything that cried out for one.
Right.
So here we are 35 years later, and Denis Villeneuve has directed Blade Runner 2049. It's produced by Ridley Scott. It's still scripted by Hampton Fancher, by the way, who did the original one. And Harrison Ford is back as Rick Deckard. And this time Ryan Gosling is our new lead character, Kay. And I'm curious. Now, did you revisit the original one before watching this one?
I didn't, but I have seen it in the past couple years.
Okay.
So I mean, it's still
Relatively
fairly
fresh.
fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
I know. I'm fairly familiar with it. Yeah.
Okay. So give me your take on Blade Runner 2049. Let's do our non-spoiler reactions and we can kind of get into it.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. But I enjoyed it in a very specific way.
Oh, okay.
It's very long. I mean, it's edging toward 3 hours.
Yes.
So it's, I would say, similar to the first one, it is another immersion experience. There's a lot of shots of ships flying through, 2049 Los Angeles, which I enjoyed, I should say, because it really sets a tone, it sets a mood. You are going into another world and living in it for 3 hours. And I was really enraptured with it. I think the story moved at more of a clip than the first one and had more, what's the word I'm looking for? I tracked with the story and I was with the story and interested in the story a little bit more than I was the first one. That's not to say, though, that it moves quickly.
No, it does not.
Yeah. But it's hard to explain. I was invested in the characters and I was invested in learning what was going on, but at the same time, the movie feels a little cold. So I can't say that my heart was into the movie at the same time, even though I was interested in learning what was going to happen next. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, for being a 3-hour film, I was never once bored. And even the next day, I was thinking about it and thinking, I know that's a movie I'm going to enjoy watching again. It's not something I would wholeheartedly recommend to everyone, because I think some people are going to go in and find it a little exhausting.
Yes.
But it's the type of movie, I was going to get into this a little later, but I'll say this now before the spoiler wall. It's a movie where I love looking at it so much. If you're the type of person that really enjoys looking at a movie, it's like strolling through a brilliant art exhibit for 3 hours. So, and it has the benefit of also having a mystery that you can follow, but I could easily just watch this movie because I love looking at it. So, we'll get into more specifics, but also just, I mean, it's a beautiful package. It's a beautiful present. I mean, the sound design is phenomenal. The score, I thought, was great. The visuals are astounding. And I was invested in the mystery, but it is a slow burn, I think people should know. So I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot in a specific way. I don't think I enjoyed it in the same way that I'm going to enjoy The Last Jedi. Right? But for what this specific movie is, I enjoyed what it was. Does that make sense?
It does.
I keep saying, does that make sense? Because I feel like I'm using a lot of words trying to express.
No, I totally get what you're saying, and I think you and I are on the same page. I think that, when you talk about, for example, The Last Jedi, or even, The Force Awakens, right? That dials into our, pleasure receptors in a very specific way because of the nostalgic investment we have. And Blade Runner is not the same kind of nostalgic artifact.
Right.
Right? And so, that's Harrison Ford being back as Rick Deckard. That's not the same as him being back as Han Solo. Mm-hmm. Or right. Indiana. I mean, to me, that's like saying, Harrison Ford is back in Mosquito Coast 2. Yeah. It's like, okay, that's cool, I guess, Yeah. Right? Because I mean, even in the context of the film, the moment when we see him again, it didn't bring up a swell of emotion from me in the same way, right? And I think, just to be very clear, I think they give Harrison Ford some great stuff to do in this movie.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that when we get into spoilers. So in a sense, that kind of means that the movie has to stand apart from nostalgia in a way. Mm-hmm. Which is also a good thing. However, the door swings both ways. I think it is a little bit cold.
Yeah.
I think that the mystery is one of those things that I feel like once you figure it out, there's a little bit of watching the clock as it sort of comes to conclusion, And I feel like that was something that the original film did better, where there wasn't really a central mystery. It was finding the person,
and then the guy.
And within that journey, you have tackled these more existential questions. I think there's some fascinating existential questions in this that I really plugged into, and I thought were really good. I agree with you. I don't know. I don't see the necessity of this movie being 2 hours and 45 minutes long. It feels like a theatrical director's cut to me.
Yep. Yep. That's yes, and that's not to say though, because then I think people would immediately think we don't enjoy all the exterior shots.
Yeah.
All the visual effects and the mood, taking the time to set a mood, and that's not true. Actually, I like I said, I mean, I felt the movie was a little cold,
yes.
But I know this is a movie I'm going to enjoy watching again more than once because I love experiencing
and it's going to look amazing on a 4K TV or whatever,
Yes. But yes, I do think there were some things we can get in past the spoiler wall that, didn't service some things, and it could have sped it up just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to ask whether you should check it out or not, I would say very simply, watch the original Blade Runner, and if you leave that movie with a sense of I could spend a little bit more time in this world, then by all means check this out. If you go in cold, I don't know what you're going to get out of this.
It definitely requires a certain temperament, movie viewing.
Yeah,
temperament.
I mean, that was my thought when it ended. I was like, who's the audience for this thing going to be? And sadly, by the way, that thought has been borne out by the fact that it's looking like it's going to open with $35 million, which is a spectacularly underperforming reception because this thing costs $160 million to make.
That's disappointing.
But is it surprising though, Brian?
I suppose not. Not like I expected this to make $70 million. Not at all. I mean, never. I would have never predicted that in my wildest optimistic expectations. But man, yeah, I wish this movie. Well, I mean, with the budget, there's not a lot you can really do.
Yeah.
With that, but I just wish that this movie had at least been a modest success. We set out to do this thing. Yeah. And we did it the best. I think this is the best possible sequel you could have hoped for to Blade Runner.
100% agree with that, yeah.
Yeah. So I just wish it could have been its own version of success. It's just too bad that it looks like this might be deemed a failure.
Yeah. Well, but hey, that's...
Artistically, no.
Isn't that, too, kind of being true to the Blade Runner universe?
Maybe, yeah. And that's not to say even that means, oh, boo-hoo, now we can't have another sequel. I don't think there should be another
No,
sequel.
I agree with that, absolutely.
I think that they found an interesting way to continue this story, and they did it very well, and I'm okay with leaving it there.
This, it'd be one thing if this was the result of a studio compromised movie and it still underperforms, and then you're like, well, God, why didn't you just leave him alone? With this, it's like, well, Denis Villeneuve clearly made the movie he wanted to make, and now it belongs to the ages. That's kind of where I'm at. Mm-hmm. Because I, as a viewer, I don't really care whether the studio is in the red or in the black. I mean, the movie exists, and it's going to exist forever. And it's there.
Yeah, that's true. I think about those things, but yeah, I guess I don't work for Warner Brothers, so what do I care?
Yeah,
I'm happy the movie exists.
I view this film less like a sequel than an epilogue.
That's interesting.
And I think, that's something that Francis Coppola, for example, has said about Godfather 3. Like, he considers parts 1 and 2 as the movie, and part 3 is the epilogue, and I think that makes that film, viewed in that context, I think it works much better. I view this the same way. I don't think it's essential. Mm-hmm. This is not like, oh, and then the story continues 35 years later. It's like, and then here's what happened 35 years later.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah. I think we've gone as far as non-spoilers will take us. I want to get into some of this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Spoilers.
Okay, so obviously the hugest spoiler right up top is that Ryan Gosling is a replicant.
Yes.
That's a pretty big, I was surprised to learn that in the first 5 minutes.
That they reveal it so early, or just that he was?
A, that he was,
yeah.
And B, that I didn't know that, going in. That was a genuine surprise.
Oh, yes, I see.
Did you know that going in?
No, I guess I didn't find it super surprising because they sort of led with it.
Right. I mean, but that's kind of my point, is you'd think that would be like, not a big deal to let that be part of the, and by the way, Ryan Gosling's a replicant. I was like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I thought that was cool.
When Dave Bautista's like, do you have trouble killing your own kind? I was like, eh? And by the way, actually, let's take a second to acknowledge that Dave Bautista is in this for 5 minutes, and he is legit good in this movie.
Very good, and he leaves an impression that needs to last the entire film, and does.
And he does a better job with his 5 minutes than whatever the hell Jared Leto was doing.
Which what's funny? I didn't hate Jared Leto in this movie.
Oh my God,
dude, that's so funny.
I'm tired of actorly Jared Leto. That's where I'm at right now.
It's funny. This is one of those things where I could be nudged over the edge, but I felt like, oh, that's so funny. I didn't mind. I don't know. I just went with what he was doing, I guess, which is crazy because I've given him so much grief for just Suicide Squad.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, the whole thing where he's groping that one replicant and smearing that crap, and he's like, life is like a river.
Yeah, what do you say? I didn't get his character. We never his character has no purpose in the story that I could see. I mean, there's no overarching statement that's being made,
I mean, well, because he's trying to figure out how to make the female replicants have babies, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, I get they set up what his motive is, but yeah, it never feels like it has much of a payoff.
No. And that was my point. I mean, the character of Terrell in the first film, it ultimately comes down to the replicant Roy Batty literally meeting his maker.
Yes.
And finding that he is superior to his maker. I mean, there's something compelling there.
Yeah.
And obviously, in terms of the pieces of the story, Jared Leto, his character plays the same role, but it just, I don't know. Again, his actorly tics, I found it agonizing after a while.
I did have a moment where I stepped out of the movie when it was just him and Harrison Ford sitting there and wondered what Harrison Ford was thinking of what was happening in front of him. I did think that.
Did you see that picture, by the way, where Harrison Ford accidentally clocked Ryan Gosling?
That picture is pure comedy.
It really is.
You couldn't have staged that picture better. I mean, that's so the story is, as they're going around doing their press tour, the one story they keep telling over and over is how Harrison Ford's character is supposed to punch Ryan Gosling's character, and they did the take 90 times, but on the 91st time, Harrison Ford accidentally punched Ryan Gosling. And so we've heard this story several times, but then they finally released the still frame of the moment that it happened, and it is pure comedy. I mean,
It's
Ryan Gosling
having he's just spun around.
Yeah.
And Harrison Ford is in sort of the background with this look, oh shit.
Yeah, totally. That's Ford's. And then Ryan Gosling has this perfectly like Looney Tunes, half surprised, half like
you could add cartoon birds around his head.
Yes, exactly. It's a great, Google it. It's hilarious.
But so getting to Harrison Ford's role in this, there was a little bit where I'm like, because it's like a solid hour and a half before he shows up.
Yes, literally. I think it's an hour 40 I saw somewhere.
I felt like, well, maybe get to it a little bit, but the stuff before that. See, this is. I mean, I'm of two minds, honestly, because I appreciated everything that was in there, but I do feel like a little bit of snip here and there might have been helpful. But there's a lot of really good stuff in there. I really responded to the relationship between Kay, the replicant played by Ryan Gosling, and Joy, the digital woman that he's in love with.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, I was like, this is so it's an artificial person who's in love with an even more artificial person.
Yeah.
And she wishes she could be like him, but he's not even real.
Yep.
And you have these like this almost like a caste system of what's deemed real and not. And it's almost irrelevant. Like he is real by any measure.
Yep. I mean, he can
real.
at least physically touch things. She can't physically touch anything.
And she was great, by the way. I think Anna Arias is her name.
Ana de Armas?
De Armas.
Yeah, she's very good.
Very good, yeah.
And then how heartbreaking is it then when he sees that hologram of her later?
Yeah.
And it's the woman that he loves, but she's just this shell. She's the first shell of that person before she has any of the memories and attachments and experiences that they shared. Oh, that was a wonderful. It's funny because that's in the trailer and it doesn't really mean anything. You're like, oh, that looks cool. But in the movie, I was like, wow, what a heartbreaking moment.
Well, and it's. I mean, the beauty of it is they set it all up, right? So
yeah.
For when she will die, you see it coming, and you know it's going to be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And boy, they make you hate that woman who does it.
Oh my gosh, I love her. I think her name's Love, by the way. L-U-V.
Oh, really?
Sylvia Hoeks, I think is her name. I know I'm pronouncing that name wrong. But I really liked her a lot. I thought they were looking for like an image, and like an attitude, and she just nailed it. I mean, she had that sort of perfect ponytail and that like look of cold death in her eyes, and man, I don't know. I was really taken with her. I thought she was a really great character. Like they didn't spell a lot of things out for her, but you completely understood her.
Right.
Right? And then at the end too, when she's fighting Ryan Gosling and saying that I'm the best. I mean, that was basically what she had been trying to do the whole time, prove that she was the best as the right-hand man of Leto's character. And I don't know. I just thought she was really spectacularly, perfectly well realized, her character.
Yeah.
Subtle as she was.
And we should talk about Ryan Gosling, who I think he commands the screen very easily.
I really like Ryan Gosling. He's very dependable.
He really is. Like, you're going to get a certain level of performance. I did think about a couple of things though. I feel like, number one, I was like, there's the misdirect where you think that he is in fact Deckard's son.
Yes.
Right. And I was like, come on, what are the odds of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I appreciated that was in fact a misdirect. But then I did have this thought. I'm like, what are the odds that he would find, like, this whole thing hinges on the coincidence of him finding those remains.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what are the sheer odds of that happening? Like, it's not something that kills the movie, but it's like a massive coincidence.
That's funny. I've said on here before, they say audiences will go with coincidences more likely if they create a problem.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of an interesting thing, because that, like you say, I mean, that sets the whole movie into motion, so it's a little harder for you to. I didn't think about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying for sure.
I do. Another thing I think is really interesting is that this movie does not tell you what version of Blade Runner it's a sequel to.
Right. Referring to the fact that there's 5 cuts of the.
There's like
the
5
first...
cuts, and we could boil those down, and let's say there's like the theatrical cut and the Ridley Scott final cut. They're vastly different movies. This one, it doesn't touch that. It doesn't, and the question that's been out there for decades now is, the implication at the end of the Ridley Scott edit is that Deckard is a replicant.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's one of those things where I think Ridley Scott is like the only one who thinks that.
Right.
Because the movie kind of falls apart if Deckard is a replicant.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Because the end of the movie is like this replicant saves his life, and it's like what's the difference at this point between a human and that's the whole thing. Well, if you have he's a replicant, then what is that but like a Shyamalan twist that doesn't add anything?
Right.
But
which like you said, they don't really. They don't go there. I was expecting them to.
You could watch the director's cut or the theatrical cut. This works as a sequel to both, which I think is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the reason this movie works, is because it doesn't undo any of the mystery of the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, as an example, right? The movie 2001. Which, have you seen 2001?
Holy crap, Zachy.
Yeah.
You know what I watched last night?
What's that?
2010.
Get out of here.
Literally.
Seriously?
Last night. Sorry. Continue.
That's amazing.
That's so prescient. Yeah, all right.
So 2010, which I like, by the way. I don't think it's a bad movie. But the reason it's nowhere near as beloved as 2001 is because what it does is it takes all of the mystery at the end of that first movie, and it says, oh, here's the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay.
Yes.
You're like, okay, I guess. That's fine, I guess. That's not really what I was thinking, but okay, right? And it essentially takes a spectrum of colors, and it says, no, it's one of these 4 colors.
Right.
And I say that I like 2010, but it's not even comparable to what the first movie does. And I'm not saying in terms of better or worse. It's just they're like 2 different movies.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Because at the end of 2001, what happened? I don't know. It's like up to you to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
So when 16 years later, whenever it was, the sequel's like, well, here's what actually happened. There's Jupiter, this happened here, and there's the thing here, and there's a bunch of things here in Jupiter, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, is that a fair?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And so I think that's the reason that the 2 movies are not mentioned in the same breath.
Right.
Because of that. I think with Blade Runner 2049, they avoided the 2010 problem.
Mm-hmm.
By saying we're gonna tell a different story that goes in slightly, but we're gonna leave all of those mysteries intact. The biggest one being whether Deckard is or is not a replicant. If you choose to believe this, it's there. If you choose not to believe it, they literally they lampshade it in the film.
Yep.
Right? Do you think you were programmed to meet her, or maybe you weren't? God made it like it's literally. Now that being said, we were talking about Harrison Ford earlier. Some of the best acting I've seen from Harrison Ford in this movie.
Yeah, you can tell he was invested in this.
Yeah, they play the audio of Rachel, Sean Young, and you just see his face. He doesn't say anything, and you just see his face, and you see his heart breaking.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a beautiful moment, one of the best moments of acting I've ever seen him do.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, the thought I had was, I wish I had the investment in their relationship that he does.
Yes.
Because that moment hinges on a love between them that happened after the movie ended.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that I kept coming back to that. I was like, the movie to some extent is leaning on like our familiarity and our comfort in this universe, but in actuality, it's just this one movie that happened 35 years ago, and so much of the backstory happened in between.
Mm-hmm. I did appreciate the connection, though.
No, I did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it was very clever how they brought in Sean Young again.
Wasn't that insane, by the
That
way?
was crazy. The technology is just fantastic.
I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
Like, we're there.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not required to do a lot,
No.
to be fair, but, I mean, she looked amazing. She fit right into the environment.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Young CGI Sean Young is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Young.
Young.
But yeah, and I think so when we come to the end, once you know that okay, Kay is not the son, that in fact is the daughter. At that point, I was like, okay, so it's for sure going to be that girl. I made that connection.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the film, I was literally because Kay dies, and that's like a perfect. I'm like, good. That's a great ending.
Perfect ending, yeah.
Right. And he says, "Go see your daughter." And I remember thinking, I was like, when he walks in, I was like, "Don't say anything. Just end it." I remember thinking that.
I remember when he was approaching the stairs, I wasn't sure if he was going to die, and I was like, he has to die. Let him die here. Because it's so perfect. Like, he thinks he made the connection with his father, realizes he's been duped in a way.
Yeah.
Leads the true relationship to each other. His job is done. Time to die. Yeah,
right.
It was perfect.
And he did make a connection with the father.
Well, yes, true,
Yeah.
right.
Like, I mean, in a meaningful sense, that he is Deckard's son.
Well, yes, that is true. That is true.
But I remember thinking that I'm like, don't even say a word to each other. Just end on their reaction to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't, and that to me is.
I'm sorry. You're talking about Inside with Ford and.
Yeah. So after Gosling dies, Harrison Ford goes in, and at that point, I'm like, I don't want to see them talk to each other. I don't want any dialogue.
Yep.
I was like, just end it there, because what conversation could they have that would measure up to whatever's in our mind? And that's what I mean about preserving the mystique.
Yep. She was amazing too, wasn't she? I mean, this
Considering she has like one scene basically.
Yeah, but I feel like every actor in this movie was able to convey so much with so little.
Yeah.
They were all very interesting. What they did was very interesting, and they expressed more than dialogue could have said, or more time with them could have said. I thought, yeah, this movie, I mean, it succeeds in so many ways. It
really does, and I think, to me, honestly, the biggest element of that success is that, to me at least, it closes the door on this franchise, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at this point, I don't want to see any more.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a Terminator 3.
Way.
If they made one, I'll go watch it.
What's that?
But it's like a Terminator 3 situation. Like, if they make one, I'll watch it. But I do feel like I think we're good.
I think that's kind of my point, right? I don't mean in the sense like, this sucks, I'm done now. I mean, like, you know what? The story's over. That's, I don't need to continue. I don't want to see like, oh, and now Rick Deckard and his relationship with his daughter. Like, no, I'm done.
Yeah. No. I agree with that for sure.
But again, we mentioned this at the top of our discussion. Audiences have clearly not responded in the same way, despite the fact that it is really quite beloved critically. So this is a wide disconnect between critical acceptance and what the audiences think.
Yeah, and I've also read people are saying that this is a shoo-in now for Roger Deakins to get his Oscar for Best Cinematography.
Just gorgeous. I mean, you could watch this on mute.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I know I will watch this movie at least 2 more times because I want to look at it again.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was another thing, too. I had a thought in the middle of it when, there's a lot of practical locations and sets, props, what have you. But I was thinking, 10 years ago, is that about right? Yeah, about 10 years-ish ago, this movie would have looked very different.
Yes.
With the way that CGI was being used and relied upon and whatnot. And it feels like we finally entered that time where smart filmmakers know how and when to utilize it and when not to utilize it and how to marry it with practical. And this movie every location and effect just rings completely true to itself.
It's exactly the movie I saw in my head when I heard Denis Villeneuve was making it.
Yep.
You know? One thing I wanted to point out, which I love, there's this moment where you've got Kay, like, you know, in his flying car going through the city, and you see the Pan Am building.
Yes, yeah.
And I remember thinking, I love the fact that this is a sequel that exists in the world of the first movie, because in the first movie, Pan Am still existed.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's like a little thing. Like, that's a choice.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep, and Atari.
Yeah,
It's still a major force in 2049.
So for some reason I loved that. It's like this little piece of detail that really stuck out to me.
Yeah, and you know what else? Other movie Pan Am exists in the future.
What's that?
2010.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
Because
true.
remember
That's funny.
in the original, I think they fly Pan Am at some point, and so then in the sequel
That's
you
so
see a
funny.
Pan Am
Of course,
commercial.
the Soviet Union exists in 2010 in that movie too.
Right.
You know what's funny about that, by the way, is that in the book there is no Soviet Union subplot.
Oh wow! So it was just a complete middle '80s.
Yeah, they added a thing that is what dates it the most.
Yeah, wow, that's really funny. And Helen
did you think
Mirren,
of
by
it?
the way, playing a Russian.
She's really good in there. What did you think of that movie, by the way? I'm curious.
I enjoyed it as sort of a novelty,
Yes.
if that makes sense, because I thought it has not aged well, but I don't think that it's completely irrelevant. I think it's it feels stuck in 1984 in a lot of ways.
In a way that the original one doesn't.
Exactly. But I did appreciate more time spent with the Monolith and Hal, and even getting Dave back. David.
I think the moment when we see David Bowman again, I remember seeing the movie for the first time, being like, whoa, like that was.
Oh,
was
it's like haunting.
it is.
Yeah, and I really loved it. And I loved when Roy Scheider is following him around the ship, and he's speaking to him, and he's alternating between ages.
All the different forms that he took.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed watching it, but I don't know that I'll watch it again. But
Yeah, you know what, I totally agree with you. I think it's one of those movies you watch it and you enjoy it. I don't think it's a bad movie, but it doesn't stay with you in quite the same way.
right.
And that wraps up our discussion of 2010.
I know we should wrap it up because that's the perfect ending, but I have to call it one more scene that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed
Yes.
so many scenes in this movie, Blade Runner, but the scene after when Kay returns back to base and he gets tested, his baseline, just to make sure he's still, I don't even know what you call it. I can't even put it into words. I just understood what was happening. But basically he's in this white room and this robot is reading his levels and saying these words and he has to give these responses. And the direction, the acting, the sound design, the visuals, everything of that scene was insane. I just absolutely was in that moment starting to get uncomfortable. There's sort of like a consistent noise that's escalating throughout the scene, making you uncomfortable. And then when it just ended, I was like, that was amazing. That scene was amazing.
Very well, and I think that's a good place to leave this discussion. I would say that if you are on the fence about watching Blade Runner 2049, watch the first one. Any version of the first one, I would suggest watching the final cut, since that's Ridley Scott's preferred cut. And if you walk away from that movie being like, I could stand to see a little more of this, then watch the sequel. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
And with that, we put a pin on this episode, but we hopefully leave you wanting a little bit more. Hopefully not 35 years from now. We hope. And we do have a commentary track on tap, which we're hoping to drop at some point in the not too distant future. So
yeah,
lots of fun stuff coming up. Brian, is there anything you want to hype up before we move on?
Well, I'm still working over at Puppy Dog Pals and loving it and loving those puppies. So I think you will love them too. If you want to check it out, it airs on Disney and Disney Junior. Yeah, Puppy Dog Pals coming
Very
at
nice.
you.
I want to hype up very quickly the new podcast I'm co-hosting, which is Debriefing Discovery, which is a weekly discussion about the new Star Trek show. I'm having a lot of fun with Chris Clow and Cicero Holmes and Rachel Clow. We're basically, the new episode comes on, we have a chat about it, and it goes out. And I think if you are watching the new show and you're looking for a hopefully beneficial conversation, you will like that. I also want to point out the new episode of Diffuse Congruence, the American Muslim Experience, featuring our guest A. David Lewis, who has a new book called Muslim Superheroes, where he looks at the portrayal of Muslims in superhero comics, which I think is pretty neat. And also this is like Pimp Fest right now.
Dude, why not? Yeah.
The current episode of Nostalgia Theater, it features my interview with Mark Altman and our fun chat about Star Trek The Next Generation turning 30. And if you're looking for me anywhere else, you can find me at my website, ZakisCorner.com. That's ZAKIS Corner. That's also my Twitter and my Instagram. You can email us at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit like on our Facebook page. And as I ask you each and every week, please go to iTunes and leave a review, leave a star rating, let people know what you think so that we can make the show the best it can be. With that, on behalf of my friend and partner Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan. This has been Movie Film 131. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Welcome, friends. It's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast. Enjoy the show. Zaki and Brian are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.